Back here on Across the Nations, it's time for the most polarizing part of the show, weekly projections. We'll start with the game of the week. In the only matchup of 1-1 teams, the Alliance takes on the Jockstrap Jockeys. Each team is coming off impressive bounce-back wins, and we'll see which squad is for real this week. Projected to be a high-scoring affair, Anthony has the early edge. Arnold has a ton of firepower on his bench, though, and we'll see if any moves are made throughout the week, including the possibility of trading for a more established quarterback. Since the Florida resident has voiced displeasure with Tampa's signal caller, we could see a move in the very near future. The Jockeys have some curious decisions to make in the lineup as well, not the least of which is deciding what to do with the quickly aging Anquan Bolden and deciding which game was the anomaly for Plaxico Burress. I'm going with Brandon in a bit of an upset here. Sorry, Anthony. Maybe you can finally prove me wrong this week. Darren Sharper Hold My Dick hosts Sanchez's Dirty in a game that could really send Brian into a tailspin. After 2 weeks of lesser opponents putting up gigantic numbers against him, the Dirties have to deal with Hunter's loaded roster. Of course, now that we're 2 weeks in, injuries are starting to become a major factor. Hunter has to deal with the departure of Aaron Hernandez and the uncertainty of Tony Romo. I still think he has enough to take this one and get back on the winning track. The game within the game here is seeing if Sanchez can crack the 75-point plateau. An appearance by Arian Foster would certainly be nice. Would the real Team Little please stand up? Austin almost doubled his point total from a debut in Week 2 to win, and now he's projected 118 points and a win against Call Me Coach. Outside of Aaron Rodgers and Roddy White, I just don't see what the gurus at ESPN like about this roster. I'm looking at you, not so talented Mr. Roto. Coach is certainly in a precarious situation after losing Miles Austin and Jamal Charles, but there's just too much big strike ability to overlook there. I take Aaron and the potential for huge points. Sorry, Austin. Change your team name. Team Jackie Moon looks to continue its hot start when it welcomes the Foreigners to town. Drew has the edge in the early line, and with good reason. Yoko Ska is looking for Drew Brees to continue to carry the load. Looking at the rest of the Seahawks roster is kind of like looking at the real Seahawks roster. Whole lot of has-beens and never-weres. Drew is in position to take full advantage with a stacked receiving core and Adrian Peterson in the backfield. Matt Schaub should be able to do enough damage against the Saints to keep Eric out of reach. I'm taking Jackie Moon to move to 3-0. This week's final game pits myself, the QB Carousel, against the suddenly reeling Colonel. Jonathan has a big decision to make as Mike's Vick's status for the weekend appears to rest solely in the hands of an unbiased doctor. The Colonel may have to go with Matt Castle at the helm, but he can still pile up points with an under-the-radar running back group. The Jet defense is also a wild card that carries the potential for game-changing points, especially against the Raiders. I may have found my short-term solution at quarterback with Rex Grossman. It's not ideal, but with Ray Rice and Larry Fitzgerald providing the bulk of my points, I can make do. Mike Williams will need a bounce-back game if I am to have any chance in this one, though. That said, I think it will happen. I will jump out to 2-1, and the Colonel will be looking at an 0-3 start. That does it for this week on Around the Nations. As always, your rebuttals are gladly accepted.